Have you convinced yourself that your avoidant ex is gone forever? Maybe it's been weeks or months. Maybe they've completely disappeared. No texts, no calls, no likes, no story views, nothing. And with every passing day, you're becoming more and more convinced that you will never hear from them again. You keep playing the breakup in your head. You remember what they said. I don't love you anymore. I'm done. This relationship isn't right for me. I don't see a future. And now you've reached the point where you stop asking if they're coming back and started telling yourself that they never will. But what if that's not true? What if one of the biggest mistakes that people make after a breakup is assuming that what they feel today is what they'll feel forever? What if the very things that make avoidance pull away are the same things that cause many of them to revisit a relationship months later? In this video, I'm going to explain why believing you'll never get your avoidant ex back may be based more on fear than reality, and why many people are shocked when they eventually hear from an avoidant that they were certain was gone forever. If you're new here, hi, my name is Lucia. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. And if you're not new, you're part of my no contact army. Welcome back. It's good to see you here again. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is that your ex's breakup words are not necessarily their final words. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is treating what their ex said during the breakup as if it were the gospel truth. But think about it. When do many breakups happen? When emotions are running high, right? When someone feels overwhelmed, confused, frustrated, exhausted, emotionally flooded. And yet people take statements made during one of the most emotional moments of someone's life and assume they'll feel exactly the same way 6 months from now. Especially with avoidance, that can be a mistake. Avoidants often make decisions based on what they're feeling in the moment. So if they feel pressure, they want space. If they feel trapped, they want freedom. If they feel overwhelmed, they want distance. But feelings change. People change. Perspectives change. And the person who felt relieved walking away from the relationship may not feel the same way months later. This doesn't mean that your avoidant ex is definitely coming back, but it does mean that you shouldn't treat their breakup words as if that were the final chapter of the story. And if you would like my help figuring out exactly what is going on with your breakup, I do one-on-one coaching. And you can contact me at theartoflove.net/coaching, and we will send you the rates. They're not on the website. And the direct link to that you can click on is underneath every video and podcast. The second thing I want you to understand is that heartbreak distorts perception. So when you're hurting, your brain starts creating certainty where none exists, because the brain hates an open loop. So you become convinced that they will never come back, that they moved on, that they're happier without you. You become convinced that you're the only one who's still thinking about the relationship. But notice something. Those are assumptions, not facts. The breakup has put you in an emotional courtroom where fear is acting as the judge, jury, and executioner. Your fear is presenting the evidence, reaching conclusions, and delivering the verdict. The problem is that fear is often wrong. Many people eventually do hear from an ex after spending months and maybe even years behind absolute certainty that they would never hear from them. And in fact, I made a video recently about that, of my client who got his fearful avoidant ex back after 9 long months.
You always want the best for your family, and that means only Eggland's best eggs in your kitchen. Compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best eggs contain 6 times more vitamin D, 25% less saturated fat, more than double the omega-3s, 10 times more vitamin E, and more than double the vitamin B12. So why give your family less when they can have the best? Add Eggland's Best superior nutrition to your next grocery list. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
And I will put the link to that in the upper right-hand corner on YouTube. The third thing I want to talk about is silence, because silence drives people crazy. When an avoidant disappears, people automatically assume the worst. Well, if they missed me, they'd contact me. If they cared, they'd reach out. If they were thinking about me, I would know. But that is not necessarily true. Silence tells you one thing and one thing only. They have not contacted you. That's it. Silence doesn't tell you whether they miss you, whether they're thinking about you, whether they still have feelings, whether they'll reach out in the future. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make is turning silence into a story. And the story is, of course, almost always negative. But the truth is, you simply don't know what's going on inside someone else's mind. So while you're waiting to hear from them, I would suggest you download my app Silencio. It will help you to survive the silence and stay in no contact. And the link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. And my book, No Contact Secrets, will also help you to understand exactly what's going on. And the link is underneath, of course, every single video and podcast to nocontactsecrets.com, where you can read 2 free chapters before you purchase the book. And this brings me to my next point. Stop seeking certainty. One of the biggest traps after a breakup is the desperate need to know. You want certainty. You want guarantees. You want someone to tell you exactly what's going on. Will they come back? Will they move on? Will they contact you? The truth is, nobody knows. Not me, not your friends, not your family, not your therapist, not the tarot card readers online, not even your ex. The future hasn't happened yet. And ironically, the more you chase certainty, the more miserable you become, because you're demanding answers that simply don't exist. Instead of asking, will my ex come back? A better question is, what can I do today that gives me the best chance of success while also helping me move forward? One reason avoidants confuse people so much is because they often process breakups differently. Most anxious people are going to feel the loss right away. The pain shows up right away. Avoidants, as we know, are different. Initially, they feel relief. The pressure's gone, as are the expectations and the emotional intensity. And because they feel relief, everyone assumes they're completely over the relationship. But relief and indifference are not the same thing. Relief and healing are not the same thing. Relief and moving on are not the same thing. What usually happens is that avoidants don't fully process the loss until much later on. Weeks, months, sometimes, I know, even years. And that's when things start changing. Now, the next thing to understand is that distance lowers fear and increases nostalgia. So during the relationship, your avoidant may have been focused on everything that felt difficult, stressful, or overwhelming. But distance changes perspective. As time passes, negative emotions lose intensity. The relationship begins to feel less threatening. The arguments fade, the tension fades. And what starts coming forward? The laughter, the connection, the trips, the inside jokes, the moments that felt good. This is why so many avoidants reach out long after people think the story's over. Distance reduces fear while increasing nostalgia. Unfortunately, this is exactly where many people sabotage themselves. They panic. The moment they become afraid that they'll never hear from their ex again, they start chasing. They send the text. then another, then a closure message, then a relationship analysis, maybe an apology, maybe a letter. And what happens? They remove the very thing that creates curiosity, space, silence, mystery. Avoidants rarely come back because someone somehow successfully convinced them to. They usually come back because enough time passed for curiosity to develop, because pressure disappeared, because distance allowed them to see things differently. Curiosity is often more powerful than persuasion. And then finally, let's talk about the biggest misconception of all. Many people think that the reason they won't get their ex back is because of mistakes they made in the past. They tell themselves, I was too needy, I pushed them away, I ruined everything. Well, maybe you did make mistakes. Most people do, especially if they're anxious. But the past is not what prevents getting back together. Repeating the past prevents getting back together. People can become more secure, more confident, more emotionally regulated, more attractive, better communicators. The question isn't whether you've made mistakes. The question is whether you're willing to learn from them, because the future does not have to look like the past. And here's the irony: the people who often have the best chance of getting their avoidant ex back are the people who eventually become okay if they don't. They stop obsessing, they stop chasing, they stop putting their life on hold, they become stronger, more confident, more independent. And whether the ex comes back or not, they win because they've built a better life either way. So if you've convinced yourself that you'll never get your avoidant ex back, remember this: your ex's breakup words are not necessarily their final words. Silence does not mean they never think about you. Fear is not the same as reality. Avoidants process breakups later than other people. Distance can lower fear and increase nostalgia. And the future is unwritten. Will your avoidant ex come back? Nobody can promise that. But impossible and uncertain are not the same thing. And if you've been treating them as if they are, it may be time to think again. So now I want to hear from you. Do you have any questions or comments to anything I've said? Please comment below. And if you want help understanding what your avoidant ex is really doing, make sure you subscribe, because I discuss no contact, avoidance, and what actually brings an ex back on this channel. And in the meantime, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.